everyone. Thank you, Mrs. Crump. You basically gave my speech for me, so I appreciate that. And thank you, Mr. Packard, for having me here today. Like you know, my name is Kaylan Alderson. I graduated from Brooks in 2003. And I remember Kippy Little Day well from when I was here. It was always one of my favorite services, so I'm truly honored to be speaking in front of you all today. I was asked to speak with you about how athletics have impacted my life. The assignment was both very easy and very difficult to do. Athletics have had an incredible impact on my life and truly shaped who I am today, but encompassing all that sports have meant to me would be impossible. I'm therefore going to walk you through the most important things that sports have given me, the lessons they have taught me, and how they have prepared me for life after high school and college. I started playing sports around the same time most of you likely did. 5 or 6 years old, playing co-ed soccer, which is basically a mob of kids running around in the same direction. As I grew older, I took on more and more sports and quickly became a quintessential tomboy. I played Little League with the boys and softball with the girls. I honestly couldn't play enough, and I had a horrifying tomboy mushroom haircut to prove it. I love the competition, I love the physical activity, I love the adrenaline rush of a goal or a win, and I love that it meant spending time with my dad. My dad coached my first co-ed soccer team and continued to coach me in various sports throughout my childhood. He taught me the importance of hard work and dedication and taught me how to be a competitor, but more importantly, a good sport. The most interesting thing about me attending Brooks is that I wasn't supposed to be here. I grew up in Andover and went to public school. Both of my parents were public school teachers, so coming to a place like Brooks wasn't exactly in the Kaylan life plan. To further add to this, my dad was the Andover High School girls basketball coach, and the Andover basketball program was arguably the most competitive in the state, and basketball was my best sport. You can imagine my father's surprise when I marched home one day in 8th grade and told them and my mom that I wanted to go to private school because some kids in my class had told me it would get me into a better college if I did. The assertion was fairly ludicrous, but I wasn't your stereotypical jock. I was a nerd too. I was a dedicated student and very driven. From an early age, I was creating checklists and goals for myself, and one of those goals was to go to a great college. In retrospect, my parents were absolutely amazing about everything. After they recovered from their initial shock, I think there was a 5-minute moment of silence after I told them I wanted to pursue this. They let me try. My mom took me to a private school fair, and the only school I liked was Brooks. It was the only school I applied to, and much to my father's dismay, not only did I get in, but I received enough financial aid, thank you, Mr. Hamilton, wherever you are, to actually be able to afford to go. Again, I have to give my parents credit. They let me make the decision. They remained neutral throughout the entire process, with one exception of my dad telling me that he would definitely be winning the Massachusetts State Championship in basketball with all of my friends at Andover High. I was incredibly torn, but ultimately I decided to try out Brooks, which has me in front of you all today. Despite my betrayal, my dad and I remained incredibly close, and sports is the reason why. The wins and the championships are great, but the bonds you make while pursuing them are what really matter in the long run. I was definitely scared to leave my middle school friends and the coach I knew and loved behind, but I met many new friends and coaches at Brooks and later at Williams, and they all taught me things and made me a better and stronger person. Sports are incredibly emotional, and going through them forces bonds that are difficult to rival off the court. You laugh together, you cry together, you win together, you lose together. The friends I've made through sports have generally become friends for life. To close out the part of the story, and Mrs. Crump alluded to this earlier, I'd be remiss to mention that even though my dad did win that state championship in basketball with all of my best friends from home, I won the New England basketball championship that same year with all of my new Brooks friends. In many ways, being on a sports team is similar to the real-world work environment. In sports, you are working together with others to achieve a common goal. Yes, you care about your individual performance, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how well you play if your team loses. A job's the same exact thing. You want to do as well as you possibly can for your bonus or promotion or whatever form of compensation there is, but it doesn't matter if your group isn't performing. My favorite sports team I've ever been on was actually here at Brooks, in a sport I wasn't very good at. I assume most of you know Jamie Gilbert. She's not exactly a muted personality, so I bet even those of you who don't play soccer know her. So Gilbert and I went undefeated in soccer my senior year and won the 2002 Class A New England Championship. And that right there, that statement, is what's amazing about team sports. We both won that championship. It doesn't matter that Gilbert had 3 girls covering her at all times and led the league in scoring somehow. My only job was to really sit there when anyone tried to manage or was able to get the ball from her and kind of come on defense, and I'd kick it back. But we both won that championship. We had our roles and responsibilities, and we stuck to them, and we won the championship as a result. Life is like that too. Figure out where you can add value to a common goal and work hard to be great at that task. Sports also taught me how to manage pressure-packed situations. Pressure exists in both the micro and macro form in sports. You need to make a split-second decision about a ball coming at your face, but you also need to prepare for the championship game or season. I found that as long as you have put in the hard work in preparation, you will be ready for any situation that comes your way. Again, these skills apply to the real world. I graduated from Williams in 2007, and my first job was on Wall Street at Goldman Sachs. I knew absolutely nothing about Wall Street. Remember, I had public school teaching parents. But the trading floor reminded me of a sports arena, so I was intrigued. I went with my gut, again, something you have to do in sports, and took the job offer over a number of others. During my first year, as I was ramping up and figuring out what the heck trading even was, the financial crisis hit. If you think from watching the movies that the trading floor is a pressure-packed environment, just imagine being there as the financial world goes up in flames. I often get asked what that first year was like, and honestly, it felt pretty normal to me. I didn't know any better. At the end of the day, I was given jobs to do, and I executed those tasks. Similar to throwing a ball in the goal or covering the point guard on the opposing team, I just practiced and prepared, and it made the job easy. In fact, I attribute my performance that first year to being the reason I was successful at Goldman at a young age. I was given responsibility I didn't deserve due to market chaos, but when I was able to handle that responsibility, they just gave me more. Brooks Athletics also taught me the importance of trying new things. When I came to Brooks, I didn't have a spring sport. I played softball growing up, but I was also asked to be a coxswain on the crew team, and I had a few friends playing lacrosse. I had said, I doubt she remembers it, but clearly she does, but Mrs. Crump was the one who suggested I try something new and check out lacrosse, and I was happy I did. I loved lacrosse. It brought out an entirely new side to me. Unlike in basketball, where I played defense and passed, in lacrosse, I was the goal scorer. Trying this new thing literally changed what I knew about myself in athletics and showed me the value in forcing yourself to be uncomfortable, because it's only then that you can grow. This revelation changed the course of my life in many ways, but the most immediate way was that it made me want to play 2 sports in college, not 1. That decision led me to Division III Williams, where I had 4 of the best years of my life. I have continued to be a believer in trying new things and challenging myself, both in my career and in life. As an example, I started doing hot yoga after injuring my knee, and that ended up being my first date with my now husband. Jeff is 6'4" and played D1 college football, but for whatever reason, he thought hot yoga would be a good intro, and somehow it worked. Don't ask. Trying new things has also been good for my career. After 7 years at Goldman, I felt that I was no longer learning, so I quit to join a smaller financial company as a partner, which greatly expanded my skill set. And just 3 months ago, I was offered the opportunity to work with my business mentor, who's now the CEO of a large healthcare services company. The opportunity for growth is massive, but it's definitely different than finance. I sometimes feel like a fish out of water, but I'm loving the challenge, and I know that with hard work and dedication, I will excel. My past experiences have given me the confidence to know that it will be an amazing decision. Sports have also taught me how to deal with setbacks. Hitting the post or losing a game, those are common events that athletes are forced to deal with. Not to sound like a broken record, but again, these skills translate into the real world. At Goldman, there would be days when you would make an error and you'd lose tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you needed to bounce back and perform on the rest of your trades that day. While I was well versed in missed shots and lost games, nothing could have prepared me for the biggest setback of my life. In January 2006, my best friend from Brooks, Taryn King, passed away. I'll never forget exactly where I was, the Williams locker room after basketball practice, when I got the news. Even 11 years later, sometimes it doesn't seem real to me. Taryn was one of the most special people I'd ever known, and just like that, she was gone. Taryn and I were both day students at Brooks. She came as a 10th former, and we became fast friends. We both played sports, we both worked hard in school, we both had Beanie Egerton as our advisor, and we both loved to laugh. Taryn went to Bowdoin and played field hockey and lacrosse, and I think our NESCAC sports connection made our friendship even stronger throughout college. The last time I saw Taryn was 1 month to the day before she passed away. We met at Harrison's before she went to Ireland for a semester abroad. She contracted a rare blood disease while in Ireland and unfortunately left us. There are many parallels between Taryn and Kippy Little. In fact, I remember sitting in chapel as a Brooks student and doing the math in my head, trying to figure out Kippy's age when she passed away, and being stunned at how young she was. And that's how people felt about Taryn. We lost TK at 21. I watched a speech given by Kippy's former colleague, and she said, Kippy was kind and positive and generous. She was thoughtful. She was always happy, always enthusiastic, always willing to help. I promise you I got chills when I watched that, because that's exactly how Taryn was. Taryn had the best attitude of anyone I had ever encountered. She had a unique ability to endear people to her. In sports, most of the time you hate the best player on the opposing team, but that didn't happen with TK. When she passed away, every single player on the Williams field hockey team reached out to me to let me know how much they admired and respected her. Losing Taryn was a setback I wasn't able to recover from. I don't think I'll ever fully recover from it, but I've learned from it, and it shaped the way that I live my life. Taryn and I were fierce competitors, but she was always able to see the bigger picture and enjoy the relationships and bonds she created on the field over the victory. Taryn showed me that sports was about more than winning. She truly enjoyed life and made the most of every second, and I have tried to follow her path in that regard since she left. Her infectious enthusiasm and positivity made her unforgettable. She made a mark on everyone she ever met. 11 years later, I still think about Taryn every single day, and it's not her accomplishments I remember, it's her laughter and her friendship. Now, there's a final element of sports I've yet to mention. I realize those of you who don't actually play sports have either zoned out or are wondering where you fit into all of this, but there is a place, and that's cheerleading. Not necessarily pom-poms and routines, although those are impressive, but truly cheering your team on. I think it's one of the harder things to do. Root for your team despite not being able to directly impact the result of that game. It takes determination, positivity, enthusiasm, and a greater sense of purpose. I was fortunate to always get a good amount of playing time, so I don't have a ton of experience in cheering from the sideline. Candidly, I was never great at it. Luckily, I've learned how to cheer from the best cheerleaders I know, my mom, my brother, and my grandfather. The trio took very different approaches to my athletics career. My mom is the single most positive person I've met. She was always cheering my brother and I on and giving us support we needed to succeed. The most remarkable thing about the way she cheered me on was the fact that she barely understood a single rule of the sport I was playing. That didn't stop her from being at nearly every game I ever played. My mother, like Taryn, taught me that there were more important things than who won the game. My grandfather was a bit more like my father and me. He certainly cared who won, and he would let you know every single mistake you made. But he would make up for it by bragging about you to his friends and giving you a hug after every game. My brother came to most of my games, which is much more than brothers would do for their older sister at an opposing high school. He was admittedly dragged there half the time by my parents, but he was still there, and his simple presence meant the world to me. All three cheering styles, my mom's positivity, my grandfather's teaching, and my brother's action, all gave me the groundwork for my first big attempt at cheerleading. Last April, I received another call where I will never forget where I was. This time I was in the streets of New York City. My father called to let me know that my mother had been diagnosed with breast cancer. He asked me to be strong and reminded me of her positive spirit and how it was our turn to pay it back to her. I won't lie, it was hard. It was really hard. I was upset, I was angry, I was worried, but I tried to put my team goal, my mom's health, above what I was feeling on an individual level. I followed in my brother's footsteps, who again cheered with action that went above and beyond comprehension, and did what I could to root out my mother. Biopsies, chemotherapy, surgery, radiation, they're all different and far more important than points and goals and wins, but the importance of the support is the same. I know it made a difference for my mom, just as her cheering did for me for so many years. And I'm happy to report that she's now been cancer-free for 2 months. In the past 31 years, I've had high points and I've had low points. And the lessons I've learned from sports have guided me through all of them and helped me handle whatever life throws my way. Athletics have truly molded me into the person I am today. I do need to clarify, and I should have said this earlier, that athletics are a metaphor for passion. Sports are the thing that drove me, but for others it might be performing or arts or music. Whatever your passion is, dedicate yourself to it, learn from it, and grow from it. You'll undoubtedly be better as a result. I'd like to close with my best friend Taryn's favorite quote, which is reminiscent of the major sports lesson she taught me. You might recognize it from the bench overlooking the old field hockey field. Life is too short for drama or petty things, so kiss slowly, laugh insanely, love truly, and forgive quickly. Thank you.